Evers beat Scott Walker. That was a very good thing. And now he's had a year on the job, Dom. And now, earlier today, Scott Bauer at the Associated Press reports Tony Evers was asked to rate himself, to give himself a grade for the year. And before we see how he self-assessed, Dom, what sort of grade would you give Tony Evers for the year?
I would give Tony Evers it was kind of a slow start. He had lots of headwind with the way the Republicans went after him, but he really, really did that. The final exam with the Foxconn pushback here recently, that really, I'm going to give a little bit extra weight to that grade.
A little extra credit.
Yeah, I think it should be weighted more so. So I'll give him a B.
I'm not clear what the resolution is with Foxconn, but it seems as if the state of Wisconsin, i.e. the Tony Evers administration, are finally getting around to playing hardball on this topic, Tom.
Well, they have been seemingly over the last several months, but it's become public now. So, I mean, that's good. That gives me good feelings about that particular policy and certainly deserves credit for that. I'm going to give him a little extra credit. Tony Evers gets a B. Crudy, what grade do you give Governor Evers?
I give him the grade of nice guy. He's a nice guy. I'll give him that.
He's a nice guy. Yeah, but
he is.
Does that get you through class though, Crudy? I mean, I had all sorts of charm, but if I got a bad grade on a test, I'm not going to be able to talk my way out of it. It wasn't like I was sleeping with my teachers.
No, that was Joe, right?
Well, I'm just saying, man. So, all right, so nice guy, but that's not a grade. Now, I don't know if we're going, A, B, C, D, E, F, incomplete, or,
That's the nicest grade I can give the governor at this time. He is a nice guy.
Oh, that's not really saying much.
I'll give him an A for being a nice guy.
I think essentially what you're saying, Michael, is that it's a present vote. You're doing the Tulsi Gabbard vote. Present. Is that it, really?
Well, do you really want me to answer that question?
Of course I do. That's why we're having a conversation. I mean, listen, what let me ask you this. Yes. What were your expectations? I mean, knowing that he's got Voss and Fitzgerald on the Republican side.
Low expectations I had for Tony Evers. Sadly, he did not meet them.
I know you're not pleased with the budget.
I would give him performing below
average?
Low expectations.
Okay, all right.
I had low expectations. He is below my low expectations.
If you could give, say, a 0, a dash, or a plus, what would it be?
0, a
being
dash.
The worst, the dash being present, and the plus being, like the 3-score grade.
I'm gonna call him unsatisfactory, but making progress.
All right, so
I'll give him some grudging credit for the Foxconn.
If you're going to be critical of the grade and you get out your red pen and on that final paper, you're going to summarize. You're going to explain at least a little bit why the grade was given as it was. What would you say the knocks were?
Lack of ability to communicate effectively his point of view. And I don't mean a press release. I mean to actually go and advocate for his point of view, to utilize the bully pulpit, maybe come on talk radio once or twice. Maybe I'm a little too close to the issue because I think he should utilize Wisconsin's political talk network. And he clearly does not see that as part of his game plan, whatever game plan that might be. It's not effective governance, in my opinion, because he has failed to carry through on nearly any of his campaign promises. And I mean, I thought there were some nice moments under Tony Evers. I thought perhaps flying the inclusive flag of LGBTQ, well, that was a great moment for the state. So he's got that going for him, which is nice. Policy. What policy did he get through? He signed the Republicans' budget, got crucified and sued over it. He gets blamed for everything. He barely defends himself. He didn't get his special session acted upon. He didn't get gun safety. He didn't, get legalized marijuana, legalized medical marijuana. Didn't get any of his legislative priorities carried through on.
Now, did you actually think
Nonpartisan
that was going
redistricting.
to happen given
Not without some
the
effort on his part.
Republicans? I mean, come on, man. He could have all the effort he wants. He could march down every main street in town
Really?
screaming out the top
why
of
do
his
we-
lungs,
why do
and
we
you
even
think
vote
that the
and go to the
Republicans,
polls?
you think that the Republicans are going to go along with it? That's what I just want to be
No,
clear.
I
you
think
there's a chance in hell that Voss and
Yes.
Fitzgerald would engage in any policy that Tony Evers and his administration put forth?
Well, considering 80% of the state of Wisconsin's residents agree with Mr. Evers.
We're not
on
talking
most of
about the
these
residents. We're
propositions.
talking about the reality of politics in the state of Wisconsin.
the reality
and you have
of
an assembly
politics-
speaker who's a Republican. You have a Senate leader who's a Republican, and they have
So nothing ever gets
constantly-
done in
that's
divided governance?
Exactly what's going to happen.
Well,
Creed. That's
not
what's
if-
been
not if-
happening.
Not if you roll over and take it. Not if you put out a couple of strongly worded press releases. Not if that's your reaction.
Let me ask you
Not
this.
if you don't turn up the heat.
How would you-
He did
how would
nothing.
you rate
he
the,
pressured the Republicans. Not one iota. He didn't veto a damn thing. He didn't put them under any sort of pressure. He did a special session, and they went and gavelled it in his face and said, "Ha!" And his response was, "Well, I guess it kicks into my face. I'll go back now. I'll go home now."
How do you rate Speaker Pelosi and the Democratic majority in the House of Representatives?
I think she's been very effective.
Okay, but none of her bills, very few of those bills have gotten through
She's
McConnell.
passed 400 bills.
And let alone, okay, but my point is that her legislation, what the majority in the Assembly
She
has
has
wanted,
moved
has
the
been
narrative.
stifled by the Republicans and Mitch McConnell, and certainly by
she
Donald Trump
seemingly
if it
moved
even would get
impeachment
through.
just fine. Dom, she has
One
put all
come on,
kinds of
Crudy, you
pressure
just
on
said
this
yourself,
president.
400 bills, most of which are sitting on McConnell's desk. My point in
If that-
bringing
if
that
that is
up
the-
is if you're consistent in your criticism
Tony's
of
the
Evers,
chief
then you
executive.
should
Why
all...
are you-
Well, because, man, if you're talking about the
Don't move the goalpost.
the goalpost
Stay
is
on
getting
target
something
here.
done. That's getting something
You can't
done.
compare a legislative leader in the U.S. House of Representatives with the chief executive of the state of Wisconsin and then compare how many bills she passed with Tony Evers because it's not comparable. Here is what's comparable. She has moved the narrative. She has put this president on the hot seat. She has pushed back on Republicans. She has been strong and powerful, and she has moved our narrative. Our narrative
What
being
legislation
Democrats.
has she passed that have become law?
That is not the measure of whether or not
okay.
the executive of the state of Wisconsin has been
I know you don't like the comparison, but I think it's an apt
How is it
comparison.
analogous whatsoever?
Because your gauge of success is whether or not the policy becomes law. Yes.
Did she move forward on impeachment?
Wait.
Was she
Can you
successful
answer
with
the question?
impeachment? Stop moving. You moved the target.
I'm
you
trying
talked
to
about.
clarify.
You're talking about a legislative agenda. I was talking about
success,
Tony Evers.
Is the success the passage of laws that back the philosophical policy? Is that what you define success as?
Not for a chief executive and the governor of the state of Wisconsin. I'm not trying to draw a comparison with Nancy Pelosi because it's asinine to compare a legislative successful agenda or not with the chief executive's agenda. They're completely not analogous. Let's not make that comparison
I
because
absolutely
Tony Evers
disagree.
does not move
I
legislation.
absolutely disagree. Tony Evers has the headwinds of his philosophy with his backing of the Democrats in the Wisconsin state government.
Pelosi's
they have
been
the
very
headwinds of the
successful
Republicans
relative to
in
Evers.
the Assembly and the Republicans in the Senate. Just like Pelosi and just like the Democrats on a federal level want to push their agenda, and they're stopped by Mitch McConnell, and certainly if anything got through McConnell to Trump, probably by Trump.
So maybe if you were comparing McConnell with Fitzgerald as an obstructionist, hell yeah, I'm right there with you, buddy. Or maybe if you compared Tony Evers with the chief executive, Donald Trump, and said, well, Trump's moved a lot of stuff, judges, an agenda.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Trump's been
Republicans
very successful relative to
legislatively,
quote-unquote
no doubt about
governance. That's not legislatively. Trump has not been successful legislatively, just like Tony Evers has not been successful legislatively. Not that he got to put forth any legislation.
Is
He's
Trump
a chief
pushing the
executive.
narrative? Is he pushing the narrative with all the Republican judicial nominees?
Sure.
Okay.
He's also filling the courts, which is something that Tony Evers, yes, potentially could do, but has not had the opportunity because that's not the point of comparison. Tony Evers against the standard of state governance. Has Tony done a good job in his job? Nancy Pelosi done a good job compared to Tony Evers? Because hell yes, she gets an A+ compared to this weak governor.
We are the Devil's Advocates. 844-967-2789. I grade this show an A+ or an 11 out of 10. Depends on how you look at it. Join us on the phones. We are live today. Happy days, folks. Once again, 844-967-2789.
You gentlemen seen your midterm grades yet?
Oh, they're not posted yet, sir.
I've seen them. Mr. Kroger, 2 C's, 2 D's, and an F. That's a 1.2 grade average. Congratulations, Kroger. You're at the top of the Delta Pledge class. Mr. Dorfman.
Hello.
0.2. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. Mr. Hoover, president of Delta House. 1.6. 4 C's and an F. A fine example you set. Daniel Simpson Day has no grade point average. All courses incomplete. Mr. Blutowski. 0.0.
I think the criticism will be dissipated as we move forward.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
The Earl Ingram Show is moving to a new weekday time, 8 to 11 a.m. Finally, Earl gets to sleep in a bit as the Earl Ingram Show moves to a new start time, 8 a.m. weekdays, and as always, noon on Saturdays. The Earl Ingram Show exclusively on Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union Yes.
More power, more fight, the most heart. Gingras, Thompson & Walks is more than a law firm. We're family. We believe in doing our best to help people in need and right the wrong that's occurred. For more than 35 years, we've helped thousands of clients across the state of Wisconsin get the justice they deserve. Our proven track record of success isn't based solely on our knowledge of the judicial system. Rather, we make it our priority to get to know our clients and their cases so we can best represent them. Gingras, Thompson & Walks. Find us online at gtwlawyers.com.
Milwaukee is a great city with a great history and great architecture.
Our message. I used my own savings, my credit, pledged my home, sold my business. I'm all in. Are you? Can you stand with us now? I have built a messaging tool. We have assembled a great team, but changing outcomes requires rapid promotion and costs money. Can you help me? Can you buy ads, promote your campaign, or give a direct donation?
If you can help us, go to GoFundMe.com and search Resistance Radio Wisconsin.
Hey guys, I'm Maggie Dawn, your lady lawyer, legal eagle and sensei of economics. Tune into my show live Thursdays and Fridays from 6 to 7 on Talk 92.7 FM. Always streaming live at talk927fm.com.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We are live today. It is December 26th, and thank you so much for listening. Time to put down the candy and the cookies and the booze and pick up the phone and dial 844-967-2789.
Who says they got to put down the candy or the booze, Tom? Quick point I'd like to make since you so rudely interrupted me. Yes. I'm not even mad at Tony Evers. I just think he's a little ineffective. I mark him low on his grades. Today, he gave himself an incomplete. Said, don't judge me yet. I'm not going to assign myself a letter grade A through F, after 4 years. But I don't think he's been an effective governor, even by the standard of Scott Walker. And you're right, Scott Walker had all the levers of power, and Tony Evers does not. But Tony Evers, on every single battle, has basically left the battlefield waving the white flag. He has surrendered on every single issue this year, from the budget forward, and that has left me wanting for a more courageous governor. I'm sorry. Now, the fight with you about bad analogies, that's a whole different argument. You got me more fired up than the governor does, but anyways, we got people fired up. They want to talk. Tell me I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong on this. 844, maybe the analogy part, but certainly not the gubernator part. 844-967-2789. Chad from Greenfield, you're first today. Welcome. Happy holidays.
Hey, it's great to say Merry Christmas in the United States of America. So Merry Christmas, by the way.
Well, Merry Christmas. We can say it all. I mean, no one says we can have to say anything. That's the greatest thing about this country. You can say it however you want it, whatever makes you feel good, my friend.
Amen. Hey, you're actually right, though. Tony Evers, he is like Daniel Simpson Day, a 0.0. But how can you be shocked? I mean, can you name anything this guy has ran on? When he was head of DPI, can you name one accomplishment? I mean, how long has that guy been in there? He's been a prototypical empty suit who's just coasted on doing nothing. I mean, he got in basically by default. He ran on nothing. He did nothing for DPI. He's done nothing now. Like you say, he runs away from battles. I mean, I'm being a Republican, a conservative, I'm happy about this. It's great because anything he believes, we don't know what he believes in. I called his office 3 times. I said, hey, what's his stance on legalized gambling? You know, all these states are making money and all this stuff. I've called 3 different times. None of the ladies know. I asked for a response. I get nothing. I don't think the guy has an opinion on anything. I mean, he never did with DPI. He doesn't right now.
Well, Chad, he's got a recent opinion. Apparently, the administration has been pushing back on this Foxconn deal. Let me ask you, sir. I know certainly Governor Walker and even President Trump hoisted this thing up, hopefully to try to keep Walker in. That didn't work. Now we get the ramifications of the deal. Seems like the administration is trying to push back. Where do you stand on this deal? This is 5% of what they promised, and certainly not the jobs. Where do you stand, Chad?
Well, okay, I'll answer your question, but first of all, you're deflecting on the topic. I mean, name one thing Tony Evers has ever done as a head of DPI, as governor. I mean, this guy is cold.
Well, I appreciate that, and my question is...
He signed the Republican budget this year, Chad.
Chad, where do you stand on Foxconn? He's pushing back now. That's something I give him credit for. Do you think that is... Does he deserve credit for pushing back on the Foxconn deal?
Well, the thing is, we don't know what's going on with Foxconn.
Yeah, we do. It's 5%. They promised a $20 million plant. Chad, come on. You know these things. It was 20 million square feet. Now it's 1 million square feet. It's 5%. Do the math. That's what they're doing now. And now they're saying, well, you're out of contract because that's not what we agreed to. Chad, he's pushing back. Do you think he deserves credit for that push?
Well, if that's the one thing he's done, like I said, he's done nothing.
Well, that's a big deal, though,
That's
Chad.
right. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
$4.5 billion of Wisconsin taxpayers' dollars. That's a good thing to push back on, potentially.
Has he done anything effective with Foxconn? No. He's done nothing. What has he done with
No, he's
DPI?
just trying to make them honor their contract, Chad. And Scott Walker had no incentive.
Is that a pro quo?
What's that, squid pro quo?
Squid pro quo.
Is that what he's doing now? Is he withholding funds like you guys hate so much?
Well, no, Chad, of course.
No,
the problem
it's not
is...
that we hate withholding funds. If there's a contract and you don't meet the terms of the contract, people hold back the money, Chad. That's just, if someone pays me to run some ads on the radio and I don't run the ads, I can't expect them to pay me. They come back, they want a new deal. They want me to honor the deal. We want Foxconn to honor the deal, Chad. In fact, I'm happy if they walk away from the deal because it was always a bad deal. And Tony Evers, so far, seemingly is trying to hold them accountable. That is a step in the right direction for you, Tony. I'm not going to give him extra credit, though. Not yet.
But Chad, the Republican, he'll give him a little bit of credit.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates on the other side.
Do you want to be a winner? All the winners I know like the Devil's Advocates Facebook page.
Foxconn will help Wisconsin win the 21st century.
Hi, I'm Kelly, and my family owns Madison Liquidators.
Crudy, January 14th is the last Democratic presidential debate before the voters' caucus in Iowa. I think it's time for a road trip.
Dominic and the Devil's Advocates will take our audience to Iowa for the Drake University Des Moines Register CNN debate pregame and then broadcast the debate live on Talk 92.7 FM Madison and Talk 101.7 FM Milwaukee.
January 14th, the Devil's Advocates at the Dem presidential debate. Tune in.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk on Talk 92.7. Weekdays, hear the Earl Ingram Show from 6 to 8 a.m. Next, it's Stephanie Miller from 8 to 11. From 11 till 2, the Tom Hartman.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming at talk927fm.com. You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming at talk927fm.com.
The Earl Ingram Show is moving to a new weekday time, 8 to 11 a.m. Finally, Earl gets to sleep in a bit as the Earl Ingram Show moves to a new start time, 8 a.m. weekdays, and as always, noon on Saturdays. The Earl Ingram Show exclusively on Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
A lot of stores tell you what you want, whether you need it or not. At Ignite Glass and Gifts, we listen to what you want, what you need, and how you're going to use it. We have a huge selection, so more than likely, you'll find exactly what you're looking for. If you don't find it, we'll do our best to get it in for you. Madison's favorite for glass gifts and vape, Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona and Madison's West Side. You'll say, oh my God, I found it at Ignite Glass and Gifts.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union Yes.
Bachman Construction has been serving the Madison community for more than 65 years. Our family established a tradition of exceeding clients' expectations back in 1954.
And that is a tradition our family continues today. With time-honored techniques and innovative technologies, we are thrilled to offer our family's 3 generations of experience to your next project.
Quality is our foundation. Give Bachman Construction a call and let us know how we can create a better value for your space today.
Tune in Saturday morning for Development Matters with me, Ken Harwood, for an honest discussion about economic development right here in Wisconsin. From Lambeau Field to electric cabs, we're talking about real solutions for real problems right here in Wisconsin.
For WRRD and WTTN, my name is Brian Kelly with your headlines. UW-Madison alumna Ali Willis passed away on Christmas Eve. Willis composed the theme song to the TV show Friends, as well as the Pointer Sisters' Neutron Dance, September by Earth, Wind & Fire, and lyrics to You're the Best performed by Joe Esposito from the original Karate Kid movie, among many others. Willis chose UW-Madison for a journalism degree. She was 72. Madison police have arrested a man in connection with a Christmas Eve shooting. A suspect was booked just after midnight on Wednesday and charged with first-degree intentional homicide. The shooting is the 4th reported homicide in Madison. Highs today around 50 in Madison and Milwaukee. Temperatures dropping around 10 degrees this afternoon, heading into overnight lows around 30 degrees. Friday highs in the mid to upper 30s, and Saturday rain in the forecast with temps in the mid 40s. You're listening to Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Welcome back to work for you, my little buddy. Doing a live show the day after Christmas, our last one for the week. And then we're working again on Monday. And then I understand, Dom, we're going to spend the new year, or at least January 2nd, down at WCPT 820 AM.
Are we doing it? Is that all set?
We're doing it in Chicago,
booked.
man.
All right, Chicago.
They legalized marijuana in the state of Illinois. We will be there to bring in the new year, if you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
We'll get back to the phones momentarily at 844-967-2789. But, Dom, I want to throw out a little of the source material. The Associated Press piece, Scott Bauer, the author, an interview with Tony Evers. Tony did not give himself a grade. Incomplete. No grades issued, not yet. Here is what Bauer writes in the body of the piece. Bipartisan bills that would legalize medical marijuana have stalled, as have Democratic efforts to expand Medicaid, address the dark store loophole, a property tax issue that's important to local governments, and institute new gun control measures. Evers tried to force Republicans to debate universal gun background checks and a red flag law that would give judges the power to take guns from people determined to be a risk to themselves or others. But Republicans didn't even debate the measures before adjourning a special session Evers called. Their discord also showed up in the usual routine manner of confirming cabinet secretaries, those who lead state agencies and work closely with the governor. Republicans rejected Evers' choice for the state agriculture department, in part because of his push to institute divisive, tougher citing rules designed to protect farmers' neighbors from the stench of manure. It was the first time the Senate has rejected a cabinet pick since at least the 1980s. And Dominic Republican Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald said it's possible the Senate may adjourn for the year without voting on some of Evers' cabinet picks. The Senate fired Evers' ag secretary the same week it took no action on gun bills during the special session. Evers showed his anger, with a strongly worded press release, lashing out at Republicans in comments to reporters laced with four-letter words. Evers tried to force Republicans to release money to combat homelessness in December, but they refused. While Evers refused to give himself a grade on his first year, legislative leaders were happy to. Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Vos gave him a C, while he said the budget was worthy of an A-. Yeah, Evers signed the Republican budget and then somehow described it as a victory. C's average rate, Vos said. In many ways, I feel like it's incomplete because I haven't seen a whole lot of proposals from him, but I would say average. Fitzgerald declined to give Evers a grade, but he was critical of how the governor worked with lawmakers. It's been kind of a rocky road, he said. Or is he describing his favorite form of ice cream? Not surprisingly, Democrats were more generous. Lots of people gave Evers like A's and B's and stuff.
Democratic Senate Minority Leader Jennifer Schilling agreed with Dom and gave Evers a B. Assembly Minority Leader Gordon Hintz gave Evers an A-, although he said many of Evers' victories, like flying a gay pride flag over the Capitol for the first time, were symbolic. Hintz praised Evers for trying to govern from the center. That's a break from Walker, who Hintz said was political 24/7. Here's a quote from Gordon. I think it comes across as authentic. Some of the victories have been symbolic, but I've appreciated his willingness to speak on the issues. Evers rejected the notion his victories were symbolic, specifically citing funding increases for schools, roads, and healthcare included in the state budget as substantial. Those, quote, would not have happened if I wasn't sitting in this office,
What?
Evers said. I
completely disagree with that
And
assessment.
all you have to do is walk to the street, down the street, and walk around the state and talk to people in the schools and ask them if they got a better deal under me than Scott Walker. You disagree with that? I mean,
They got exactly precisely the same deal. He signed the Republican budget. Yes, he did veto and increase the funding for the schools by $84 million. And effectively that aid has been tied up in litigation because the Republicans promptly sued him over it. But above and beyond that, I mean, other than the symbolic victory of flying a flag over the Capitol, I mean, let your freak flag fly, Tony. But I don't see many victories in this year for him. I see lots of losses.
But again, I mean, I know you don't want to look at this and compare it to the federal level. Well, let's do the executive versus executive, right? You got Nancy Pelosi in this House, right? And you got Donald Trump as the president. Now, is Donald Trump getting a lot of his laws passed this time around?
He wasn't getting his laws passed when it was.
Oh, they repealed Obamacare like 60 times, right? Is that a
successful? Well, that was under Obama, Dom.
But as a
legislative
yes,
schedule.
but as a body, they repealed, and it never became law, right? The Republicans repealed Obamacare over and over and over again, never got signed by Obama,
yeah,
right?
because John McCain gave him the thumbs down in the Senate, Dom.
Oh,
Again,
okay.
a Republican-controlled body that apparently didn't have the will of Trump at the time.
But when you have
but
divided,
I don't see how
I guess I don't know what
that's
you
analogous
expect when you
either.
have divided government. I guess that's what I'm trying
It
to get to.
wasn't divided. What you're describing is Republicans unable to
Right
push
now
through
we have a
Republican
divided government. We have Nancy
legislation under
Pelosi and the
Republicans.
Democrats in the House, and you have Republican Donald Trump as president. We have Republicans.
They couldn't get it done when Republicans
okay,
controlled the House and the Senate, Don.
Okay,
There's
so
a difference in inability
when you
to
have
govern.
divided government.
Now we do.
When you have divided government, but now we do federally and now we do in the state, what do you think's going to get done? I mean, what is your expectation, really? I mean, what would you do if you were governor? I know you'd veto the budget. Okay, then what?
I'd have put some pressure on. I would have had multiple
What does that mean? What kind of
special
pressure?
Sessions.
I'm
Don,
gaveling.
when you
I'm
put
gaveling
no
that thing out.
pressure on,
I'm gaveling
what's
it out.
the alternative?
I'm going to show up for
Crawling-
1 minute and I'm going to gavel it out. Nice pressure, whatever. What would you realistically, man? Come on.
May I?
What would you expect? What would you do?
I was trying to tell you about 30 seconds ago. So you call a special session every day, and you go on the nightly news, and you pound the gavel, and you pound the bully pulpit, and you make a big noise, and maybe you can say, well, that's not going to do anything, but I don't know, because Tony Evers didn't try that policy. Tony Evers did not stand up strongly and advocate for any of his positions. When you look like a guy that could get rolled under like Tony Evers does, and Republicans have been doing it since the lame duck, right? At every step, they said, basically, we're going to be the bullies. And they kick sand in Tony's face, and he crawls off with his tail between his legs and writes a press release to no end, to no success, to no victory.
And you think the activities that you're espousing...
He's got the will of the Wisconsin
you think
people
the activity,
behind him.
May I? You think the activities that you're espousing would change Scott Fitzgerald and Speaker Voss's minds? Then they would actually agree to his policies.
I think if the people of Wisconsin, inspired by Tony's strong leadership, put a lot of pressure on Fitzgerald and Voss, they might actually change their mind on something. But if there's no pressure exerted, despite the fact that 80% of Wisconsinites would like to see universal background checks, they'd like to see red flag laws, they'd like to see legalized marijuana, they'd like to see an expansion into Medicaid program, but we don't even do what the people want. And the governor doesn't stand with the people. The people want these things. Go out there and fight like hell for them. That's my point.
I'm not clear the people themselves are fighting like hell for it, Crudy. And maybe if the people were, it's one thing to answer a poll question about legal weed or redistricting or whatnot. It's another thing to get out and advocate for it on the streets, to call up your representatives, to apply that quote-unquote pressure. But, Crudy, what was our friend's name who did a study? I forget what the topic was, but like 99% of the people that called their legislators did not want this particular bill. And
Sheila Plotkin.
On what was it regarding?
The irrelevant. The topic was on the elimination of the John Doe, the elimination of the Government Accountability Board, which we heard referenced by an outside actor from the Trump administration earlier today via clandestine tape. But effectively, it was the rollback of campaign finance.
So a huge majority of the population did not want that. A huge majority of the population want legal weed and these other and sensible gun safety legislation.
Different circumstance. You had Scott Walker as the governor. They were trying to keep his ass out of jail.
Okay, but the point being, Curdy, is that there's also, I mean, if you're talking about the pressure from the people, these huge majorities want a certain thing, according to the polls.
But you, the Republicans, had all the levers of power while Scott Walker was the governor. Now that you've got a new governor, do you think Tony Evers would have signed off on the elimination of the GAB? I surely hope not.
Well, it's not about specifically about that topic. It's about the pressure that you keep referring to that you think somehow is so great. I just don't think there is a lot of validity to the pressure. I don't think there's a lot of mass behind it. It's one thing to answer a poll question, Crudy. It's another thing to do something about it.
So you think the people of Wisconsin don't care about gun safety?
I think the people of Wisconsin don't care enough about gun safety. That's exactly what I think. And the Republicans know that. That's why they can do whatever the hell they want, even though you have some huge majorities in the polling on these issues, because people are otherwise occupied.
Well, certainly don't make it inconvenient to be otherwise occupied. Just keep your mouth closed, Tony, and, walk back to the governor's mansion and try again next year.
Knowing that, if you agree with that premise, that the support is perhaps not, I would say, soft, but certainly people aren't too motivated about it, I would think, to pressure. Because my point...
Why have you advocated for impeachment? You know that you haven't had the vast majority of the American people behind you, but I hear you advocating for impeachment damn near every day. Why do you do so? Are you trying to influence people? Are you trying to change the narrative? Are you trying to bring people along through your exertion through the bully pulpit? Because that's exactly what you do. Why wouldn't you expect the governor to do the same? That's exactly what you do. You advocate for your position on the radio.
Your grievance with the governor is that he's not doing it enough, and to the volume that you would do it. My point to you is, even if he did it more than once, he did it twice. I'm saying that the people of this state are you got to have them apply the pressure. Governor Evers does not apply the pressure. And until ultimately, whatever that pressure is, however you gauge it, however you define it, until it is felt by the Republican majorities in the House, in the Assembly, and the Senate, it doesn't matter, Crudy.
Well, Dominic, what did the tape say with Scott Fitzgerald and Jack Clark from the Trump campaign? What did they talk about? The Wow counties and Charlie Sykes? Where was the pressure exerted from? From talk radio. So don't tell me Republicans don't feel the pressure and they don't feel the exertion of pressure upon them. It's got to come from talk radio for the right wing to listen to it. And for the left wing, they ignore talk radio. And they would rather not get anything done than utilize the messaging platform that exists, Dom. But don't tell me the right doesn't feel the pressure. They just feel it from right wing talk radio. And it was expressed specifically in those terms. Today, we heard the tape.
844-967.
Bad tape. I wish we could share it with our fair audience, but it's bad tape.
Well, we'll see. 2789844-967. 2789. Wisco Paul, you are up. Welcome, my friend. What do you got for us?
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, welcome back, Devils. I have to say anyone, anybody, anything is better than Scott Hole.
Hell yeah.
I have to drive these roads every day, and you're probably 2, 3, maybe $4 billion in the hole. It's just it's a terrible thing. Tony did try to fix them. I wish they'd have put more effort into the gas tax, but there again, right-wing radio that they put the kibosh to a lot of things. The Democrats need to utilize radio, and I wish Tony would do more of that because you get the word out. For some reason, I don't quite understand why the Democrats don't use it more. But I will say this in Tony's defense: it's hard to work with a bunch of jackasses.
Well, then call them out for being jackasses, Paul. Don't let them just roll over you and crawl back to your doghouse.
Well, that's true, but Crudy, the article you read some time ago now, that said it all. You know, you had the red flag. I mean, these guys will not do anything. And then on top of that, the districts are gerrymandered, and Tony is a step in the right direction. But I will agree. I am more prone to agree with Dominic on the subject. But you're right. Tony needs to exert a little more force. But I think that's who he is. This is who Tony is. He's kind of a.
He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He wins the nice guy award, right, Crudy?
I gave him an A in being a nice guy, just not so as an effective leader of the people of the state of Wisconsin. And my fear is they've grown apathetic. At least you knew who the enemy was with Scott Walker.
So, folks, let's polka tonight and get to work tomorrow.
You are a madman. I want to party with you, cowboy. The two of us together, forget it.
Who here likes a good story about a bridge?
The Earl Ingram Show is moving to a new weekday time, 8 to 11 a.m. Finally, Earl gets to sleep in a bit as the Earl Ingram Show moves to a new start time, 8 a.m. weekdays, and as always, noon on Saturdays. The Earl Ingram Show exclusively on Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
How did Scott Walker win 3 governor's races in Wisconsin? How did Donald Trump win Wisconsin, carry the presidency despite losing the primary to Ted Cruz? Right-wing talk radio. 81 stations spewing 235 hours a day of variety hate across the Badger State. You cannot win elections in Wisconsin by ceding the airwaves to Republicans, especially in Milwaukee and the Wow counties. The answer, we built a Wisconsin political talk network, 2 Metro FM stations in Milwaukee and Madison, rural AM stations in Waukesha and Columbus, covering 2.5 million Wisconsinites with our message. I used my own savings, my credit, pledged my home, sold my business. I'm all in. Are you? Can you stand with us now? I have built a messaging tool. We have assembled a great team, but changing outcomes requires rapid promotion and costs money. Can you help me? Can you buy ads, promote your campaign, or give a direct donation?
If you can help us, go to GoFundMe.com and search Resistance Radio Wisconsin.
In a union, there is strength. Wisconsin has had a long history with the organized labor movement in America, fighting for stronger wages, affordable health care, and retirement security, the values of the middle class. You can be part of that experience. Let Teamsters 200 be your partner. Your voice matters. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook. Make a difference. Union Yes.
Tom Hartman here. Madison, it's great to be back in the heart of progressive Wisconsin. And I'm excited to tell you that Talk 92.7 FM is now the Wisconsin home for the Tom Hartman program. Weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Listen live Monday through Friday right here on Talk 92.7 FM. Tag You're It.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Yes, we are live today, the day after Christmas. It's the 26th, but you can still call us, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, this is actually the article that's got me a little fired up. Molly Beck and Patrick Marley, this one published on Christmas Day at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Wisconsin voters picked Republicans again and again over the last decade in statewide races, except when it came to Tony Evers. Evers won 4 elections in a row as education chief before the GOP wave of 2010 and after Donald Trump in 2016 became the first GOP presidential candidate to win the state in 30 years. Now, as the state's top Democrat, the governor is warning his party's presidential candidates to avoid moving too far to the left.
Ooh.
Now, here's where I start taking you. Here's what Evers told the Journal-Sentinel. Fine team. People in Wisconsin value pragmatism. The only caution I would give any of the candidates who want to win Wisconsin is they can't dig a hole too deep that they can't get out on certain issues. Well, certainly you haven't dug in on any issues, Tony. Let me read on. I think they're treading lightly around that, so we'll see how that plays out. Evers said a liberal candidate could win Wisconsin in the general election, but it would have to be someone who appeals to moderates on issues like education, infrastructure, and health care. Again, a quote from the governor. That's where the elections are won or lost, he said. I think a liberal can win, but they have to be conversant and show the moderates of the state they can win. He said candidates are recognizing that by showing how liberal ideas could be implemented. As an example, he cited Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren's plan to roll out a phased-in Medicare for All program that might be palatable to Wisconsin voters. She's talking about it in terms that I think people will find more realistic, not just flipping a switch, and I think that helps, Evers said. Now, as an aside, Dom, Elizabeth Warren has plummeted since she rolled out her, by the numbers plan, right, on Medicare for All.
Her funding solution was not received well.
She went from 28 in the polling nationally to about 14. So precisely what it is the governor is politically advocating for, we have seen in real-life example take a candidate from first place to fourth place, from about 28 to 14 in the national polls. Perhaps it's more than that, but I think that's primarily the reason. Let me read on. Recent polling by the Marquette University Law School poll shows most Wisconsin voters support a national health plan at 51%. The idea also has a healthy opposition at 42%. Just 7% of those polled didn't know what they thought about the idea. And the statewide success of U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin also it doesn't make sense grammatically. I'll just read on. Also seen suggest Wisconsin voters support a more sweeping healthcare proposal than those put forward by much of the Democratic field. Baldwin, who won a seat in the Senate in 2012 over one of the state's most popular governors and was reelected by 11 points in 2018. Why isn't she considered the top Democrat in the state of Wisconsin? Just asking. She's the one that won most convincingly and most effectively. Dob, being progressive. Let me read on. Warren's plan implements a government-run single-payer health system through a series of bills and executive orders that first expands public health insurance coverage and implements the new system within 3 years. The plan takes longer to put in place than one offered by Bernie Sanders, but it's more sweeping healthcare change than proposals from the field's more moderate candidates, such as former Vice President Joe Biden and South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg. In this race, Tom, Joe Biden is Tony Evers. Tony Biden.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean,
Joe Biden is Tony
sure,
Evers.
Sure.
I mean, in terms of
centrist
lanes,
Democrats, I think that's a fair analogy.
that really started from the front of the pack, primarily due to the fact that he had the highest name recognition, right? Tony Evers had won prior elective office statewide.
Statewide, sure, absolutely.
Joe Biden was Obama's vice president.
A couple of nice guys.
You know, not strongly clear on their points all the time, somewhat muddled apparently, or at least that's my interpretation. But what happened to Tony Evers? I mean, I know he beat Scott Walker, and good on him. I didn't want another term of Scott Walker.
Oh, hell no. Thank you, Tony Evers and crew and everybody that voted for him that we don't have Scott Walker. But now we need to continue moving. Wisconsin
But Tammy
forward.
Baldwin won by 11%.
Yes.
Tony Evers won by less than 0.5%. And that was on the same ticket. So why is it that we look at Tony Evers as some great savior of the Democratic Party here in the state of Wisconsin, like some sort of centrist, moderate pragmatism? Joe Biden-esque governance is what the state of Wisconsin wants. Because that's not the example we showed in 2016. I would say Joe Biden is the Hillary Clinton of 2020. And how did Hillary Clinton go over here in the state of Wisconsin?
And who was
her sort of pragmatic brand of centrism?
Let's get some phone callers in here quick. 844-967-2789. Pete from Milwaukee, you'll have the last word this hour. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I'm disappointed with Tony, but at the same time, I understand part of what is going on there, but he's not your fighter. He doesn't get out in the ring and start punching with people and, like some guys would. And that's what kind of like what we really need to fight these people, because they are bullies and they'll walk right over you if they get a chance.
Well, at every step they've walked right over Tony. And I think the state of Wisconsin would be just fine if there could be an actual bringing together of the sides, sort of a dropping of the partisan polarity of the state. If Tony Evers could somehow lead us back to a nonpartisan, or at least, it's not partisan or bust sort of Wisconsin, well, God bless Tony Evers. I'd pat him on the back and say, I was completely wrong about this. But the Republicans have doubled down. They didn't decide it was time to play nice, Pete. They said it's time to kick this guy's ass, and he's not even going to put up a fight.
I know. That's what's so disappointing. I'd like to see him, really go out there and start doing. I think his staff is more of a staff of, let's get everything done and stuff. They're not like a bunch of progressives. I really think that they're more like clerical people or something. I don't know. Is that the impression you get?
I don't work closely with Evers' staff. Maggie Gow, his chief of staff, came over from Chris Taylor's office, and Chris Taylor, obviously a very progressive state lawmaker, but Maggie and I didn't always see eye to eye, and I obviously had some, I don't want to say personal animus for Tony, because that's not at all true, but I obviously ran briefly, Pete, and I ran in part because I wanted the candidates to draw a contrast to Tony Evers, and go figure his campaign manager didn't like me entering the race and calling him out on certain aspects of his weak governance. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. I bet she loves me now, though.
If politics is boring, you're doing it wrong. Check out more at domandcroot.com. The Earl Ingram Show is moving to a new weekday time, 8 to 11 a.m. Finally, Earl gets to sleep in a bit as the Earl Ingram Show moves to a new start time, 8 a.m. weekdays, and as always, noon on Saturdays. The Earl Ingram Show exclusively on Wisconsin's Political Talk Network.
I just